You are a strange and interesting woman.
Come and get it. Crying out loud.
All right, like a scene out of the movie Serendipity. If you think accidental meetings are just incidental, think again. Author Kristin Kaufman challenges readers to recognize the impact of all those random encounters, and in her book, Is This Seat Taken?, she dives into how these chance meetings can often point us to success and maybe a little more. Hi, Kristin.
Hi.
So these random encounters happen to all of us.
They do.
What inspired you to write a book about it?
Well, you know, I was a corporate executive for a lot of years, and I traveled the globe and would often find myself seated next to someone and would strike up a conversation, and it would have an impact on me that I would think about later. And frankly, I don't know if those global road warriors that are out there will totally relate to this, but when you would arrive in a city, the person that you related to the most was typically the person who had your name on the placard, you know, in an airport at 2 o'clock in the morning, and you were so happy to see that taxi driver, that limo driver there. And I started keeping a journal of all of these random people that I would meet, the taxi drivers, the person seated next to me on the airplane, and ultimately really felt called to write the book.
How neat. Well,
Yeah.
so what did you learn from meeting all of those people, or learn about those people?
Yeah, well, you learn a lot about yourself. So I really think, you know, there were 3 concepts in the book. The first that I really wanted people to take away: we have to be awake. We have to be awake to the present moment. And I think, frankly, today in our world, our eyes and our ears are always in our iPhone or our BlackBerry, and we're really not paying attention to those people around us. And so I really wanted to share that concept that we need to put the iPhone down, we need to connect with the person that's sitting next to us, because you never really know what they could bestow upon us from a wisdom perspective.
Right,
so that's the first.
Open communication.
Open communication. I mean, I'm tickled now when I go to an airport and it's silent because everyone is, you know, texting
on our
as
phones,
opposed to talking to someone. So that was the first concept, is just to be awake and present in the moment to the people that randomly come into your life. The second concept that I really wanted people to take away is that we're really all connected. And we oftentimes think that we are islands among ourselves, but we're not. We're really all connected. And I was reminded of that with Hurricane Sandy last week. You know, if we didn't think that we were connected, just be awake to what's happening all around us. And it's a ripple effect. And that was the second concept, is that we really are all connected.
The world really is a small place.
It's a very small place, and not just through social media and our connection through the internet, but really in the way in which we relate to one another,
and
just
experience
randomly.
life.
That's right. And then the last concept, and really the one that I think is pivotal to most professionals in whatever capacity you find yourself, whether it be as a television host or a corporate executive or an author, we are here on this planet to do 3 things, and it is to teach one another, to learn from one another, and to serve one another. And it really doesn't matter how that manifests, whether you are, you know, a chef, you know, which we're going to hear about later, or someone in your capacity. That's really what our job is. And these people that I wrote about probably didn't even know that they were teaching me anything. I feel quite certain they didn't. The taxi driver or the bartender, there were several bartenders, you know, frankly, but they taught me so much. And so that's what I wanted to capture in the book.
Well, you've met a lot of people. What would you say is the best way to start a conversation with a stranger?
Well, you know, the funny thing is, it's like, I don't want people to read this and go, oh, I have to go accost people, you know, I have to go and speak to everyone. You can actually just listen. You don't really have to engage. You can just be present and be part of the experience. And frankly, this doesn't mean you have to talk to everybody who comes and sits next to you on a Southwest Airlines flight. There are a lot of times where you don't really want to talk to someone.
Right.
I get that. And yet, if you're just awake to what's happening around you, you never know what you're going to pick up from that person.
Just from hearing
So,
other people's conversations around you.
Absolutely.
And is there an encounter real quickly that you can share with us that stands out in your mind?
Well, relative to just listening, as I mentioned, there are several bartending stories, and there's one from the LaGuardia Airport. I was in the Admirals Club, and the bartender there actually was engaging with a man that I codenamed Mr. Fancy Pants, because he was kind of one of those fancy pants people who, you know, TikTok, the game's locked.
Right.
And the bartender engaged with him in a way that was incredibly profound. And those of us regulars that were there every Friday night, you know, at the LaGuardia Admirals Club bar, we watched this actually transpire. And I won't ruin the story, but just suffice it to say that that story, probably more than any, has related to so many corporate executives. They read that story and they're like, oh my gosh, I know a Mr. Fancy Pants, or I'm Mr. Fancy Pants, you know, and that really, I guess, it heightens their awareness to the things that are going around.
Oh, well, I can't wait to read that one. Thank you for sharing. This
well,
was a
thank
good
you.
chance encounter.
Oh, good, yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much.